Psalm 137 ends like this. Happy shall they be who take your little children and dash them against the rock. Ouch. And Mark Driscoll has a message for you, and that message is this.
Some of you, God hates you.
Ouch. A lot of people are asking a question, and that question is this.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
What is love? Hawking has also recently made some theological statements that I think are worth exploring. He says things like, science is telling us that there is no room for the existence of God in the universe.
When your kids show you that list, and remember these are kids 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, their desires are as changeable as the wind. But what you don't want to do is stifle that process of them trying on desires and seeing what works.
There was a video put up last week on YouTube called Why I Hate Religion But Love Jesus. It's got 14 million hits in just a week, but there's something in the message that bothers me. And here's the first line of the video.
What if I told you Jesus came to abolish religion?
I would say that's a very difficult argument to make. Peter Parker has just been bitten by a radioactive spider and is developing these spider-like powers. It stars Ryan Gosling, who plays Stephen Myers. Black Swan is the latest psychological thriller to capture the imagination of American culture. And it's done so because it's a very powerful story, very tragic story as well. And I think it's important to make sure that it stays a tragedy and not try to make it into a comedy.
I read this book by Mark Knoll
Right.
on the Civil War as a theological crisis, and we started talking to other historians like Tracy McKenzie at Wheaton College, we're partnering with for this conference. And these guys are really, really smart, and the more they talked, the dumber I felt, so I thought, we're hosting, I better do some research on it.
We're living in Rogers Park, a North Side neighborhood in the city, and Trish worked right there in the neighborhood, so she did go to work. And we were just calling people, and I spent the day on the phone just making phone calls. I have lots of family in Northern Virginia, and so we wanted to make sure everyone was okay there after the Pentagon. Had friends in New York. A friend who was visiting me today, actually, was working 12 blocks away when everything happened and was in the streets when the buildings collapsed.
You know, tower gets hit, the flames, the explosion, and then people jumping out of the tower, and it just gets more and more and more incredible. I tried to reach my daughter, that, you know, what's going on? I mean, the school, you know, it looked like things were starting to, you know, be canceled. Finally, she calls me at some point, she gets through, and she's in tears, and she says, "Are we at war, Dad?"
The Australians have took it even further. The Australians are dealing with their treatment of Aboriginals. And they have what's called Sorry Day. And every year they celebrate Sorry Day, and they apologize over and over and over again.
What should we think about? Again, these should, would have, could have questions all get raised again in the 10-year anniversary. So I think about what Levinas says about suffering. The suffering of the other is never redemptive under any circumstances. The suffering of the other individual is never redemptive. Just a flat statement. The only suffering to which I can assign a meaning is my own.
I do believe in peace, and I do believe in hope, and I do believe we'll find the strength within, and I do believe in love, and I do believe in life, and I do believe that evil will not win.
And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself.
first of all, is that this is not about something you've got to grasp onto and get right. This is about undergoing an active communication that produces a response in you over time. You're starting to do some sessions of a course of theology, essentially. And here's the problem. Lots of people assume that theology, an introduction to the Christian faith, is good people talking about good things well. And I really want to get across to you that this is not the case. My presupposition here is that we are not particularly good people. Theology is not for good people. In fact, it's going to be vastly easier to understand for not particularly good people. People who are going to find it most difficult are those who need to hold on to goodness. Because that's a very dangerous and a very frightening form of addiction, as we will see. We'll be able to see various examples about that. The whole understanding that we're going to be looking at is about someone who knows that we're not very good, who's not particularly concerned about how good we are, who's not trying to catch us out in the goodness stakes, likes us and wants to get through to us that we can let go of our fake grasping onto goodness and actually allow ourselves to be loved, as a result of which we'll actually find ourselves blossoming and becoming much better than we thought we were, but without us being particularly bothered about it. In other words, without us being self-importantly good. But that the real key to all this is that it's nothing to do with how good you are, or indeed trying to be good at all. The only thing that this is about is how much you are loved.